Hi everyone, welcome to paxfoundation.com, and this is the third episode of Candid Talks. And for this episode, we have Dr. Sonia Dalal with us. She is a practicing senior consultant pulmonologist in Baroda, and she owns her own hospital, which is, I think, Kalyana Sutupan.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah. So we are here to talk about the journey of a doctor from becoming a salaried consultant to becoming an entrepreneur. So today's episode is named as From Stethoscope to Startups, a doctor's journey to entrepreneurship. So I'd like to ask a few questions to you, ma'am. Sure. First will be the spark. Talking about the spark, would like to know what inspired you to step up beyond the clinical practice and venture into entrepreneurship? And what is the turning point and leap?
Honestly, to begin with, I never wanted to become a doctor. But since my father was a doctor, and in 90s, it was always like, they will decide your fate. So my parents said that, no, a medical is always a good for a girl. So then they will put me in a medical school. I was always brilliant. So they put me in a medical school. And then after doing that, I went for my DNB to Mumbai. And Mumbai is the financial capital. And then I went into Hinduja Hospital where I saw that corporate culture. And I also saw how people in group practices are doing a good academic work as well as a sort of a good business model. And that gave me a spark. And then one of my colleague gave me a book called How to Lead. And it was written by a lady entrepreneur, Brain Brown. And then I was very fascinated, and which told me that, yes, Sonia, you can go back to a tier 2 city. You can do practice in medicine, but then you can also change the world in the perspective of people, that a lady can also be an entrepreneur. And that is how I started my journey in 2003, where I started my own hospital, but converted that into a polyclinic and invited doctors to sit with me, where we can discuss, do good for people as far as medicine is concerned, at the same time, have a good business together. So that is how I started in 2003.
That book which you mentioned was the spark.
That was the turning point. Yeah, turning point. And of course, what I saw in Mumbai, how
Previous
exactly,
experiences.
exactly. And of course, I was always fascinated by Indira Nui. She has been a fantastic, how she changed the whole entrepreneur, statement for the ladies in staying in US, joining the PepsiCo. So I was always fascinated by all those things.
So you believe that a lady can also become a big entrepreneur, change the world?
Lady can always change the world.
Of course.
Yeah, maybe even in the house, you have to be a good management person when you're managing the house also.
Yeah. So that was the feeling which was there that led to this.
Sure.
So of course you start your own setup. So you have to take a few first steps. Talking about the first steps which you took, how did you go about planning your own setup, and what were some of the practical challenges in the early stages, like funding, how to finalize the location? Is there some key elements which is involved in finalizing the location, and the staffing, the number of staffing, the salaries which you decide, at what kind of budget you put up in your mind that we have to do this?
So basically, as you rightly said, it was selection of the place, which is very important. So it was always in my mind that I will set up a place where there are less doctors or a less pulmonologists over there. And also, to be very honest, a area which is residential, and all those who have a concept of a thing called pulmonology. So talking about 2003, it was always a general practice and a physician. Now you have to be strikingly standing out, right, as a pulmonologist. And another challenge which was a lady pulmonologist. So then I selected a place which was a very niche area, a residential area, and it was a high-end people staying over there. Of course, the place was quite costly, but I had a benefit of funding from my father, who is a doctor. And of course, I took a loan from the bank, and selection of the place was little challenging, but once it was through, then selecting the architect, the construction part, and how I wanted my way. Those were, the real challenges.
What are the criteria which you put in to select the exact location? That yes, that this is the place which.
So my criteria, as I rightly said, was no pulmonologist or no doctor sitting in that area, a group of a physician who are into that, radius of around 6 to 7 centimeters, 6 to 7 kilometers, who would probably be helpful to me in referring the patients, my own and my father's backbone, and my own, rapport with all those doctors, and the residential area.
So basically, a good populated area with a number of good physicians, but yes, the your talent and skin, also your niche is not there, and you can provide that service to the patients as well as patients. So it's a win-win for
Absolute.
each and everyone.
And the challenge was to create awareness about lungs. Yeah, in 2000, I'm talking about 2003, where all the physicians were writing consultant, respiratory physician, cardiologist, diabetologist, neurophysician, so on and so forth. Right. So a normal public would not understand. When they write a respiratory physician, the cardiologist, a person would go, हाँ मेरे को ये हार्ट की तकलीफ है, ये हार्ट का ही डॉक्टर मैं उनके पास चली जाऊंगी. Yes, that awareness was not there. So my challenge was to create that. I have to probably shine out and, fill in that blank that it is only a pulmonologist and a niche pulmonologist.
Got it.
Right?
So, you were a clinician before, like before because
I still am.
wait, just a clinician before, but now you are a clinician as well as an entrepreneur. So, how different is the mindset that you were having before becoming an entrepreneur? That you were only a clinician, and now you are a clinician plus an entrepreneur. What's the different mindset you feel that the different with these two situations people can.
So I'll explain. I'll tell you one thing. A doctor should always be taught in the medical school, right? How to do an administration, how to manage, and how to know about finances. Unfortunately, we lack this, right, when we study medicine. And this should be an integral part in any medical school or any other, teaching institute for that matter. For me, it was like, yes, I'm a good academician, but I have to be a good businesswoman also, because I am running a private practice, right? And I have to be dependent on the end users, those are the patients and the people. Plus, I will have to maintain a good relationship with my referral base as well, right? So, how do I carry forward this and, probably convert this completely into a business model? And that probably was, sort of a thinking into my mind that I have to do more together, amalgamate both together, and convert this into a good niche business model. But it should be full of academics as well.
So we have talked about the good things like your idea, where it came from, and how you think about making a good business plan and becoming a clinician, like a patient.
So one more thing, I would like to add one more thing here. So what I thought was, I will inculcate the other things also which is related to medicine into a business model. So in 2015, I thought that now that I have a setup, I will also start my own pharmacy.
Okay.
And then at that time, so that, I will probably give everything under one roof to a patient of mine who would come to me. So they'll have a diagnostic, whether it is a non-invasive or an interventional. And also then whatever I'm prescribing them, they will take it from my hospital itself, which is again a good a business model. At that time, it was like, a doctor cannot do another business besides, doing medicine. And that then came up an idea of making a private limited company. So what I did was, I converted my hospital into a private limited company with, of course, an help of my chartered accountant and a legal advice. And then converting that into a private limited company, we had two units. So one was the clinic units or a diagnostic units, which was the hospital part. and the other was a pharmaceutical unit or a pharmacy unit. And so then that is how I started progressing, thinking about, what more can be done.
And
Exactly. More,
speeding up,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
So I was in conversation, and I was saying that we had talked about some good things, that how it led to this kind of developments, which is now. But I want to ask about your self doubts you might be having at that point of any negative thoughts, any pressure from the family, friends, or you might have shared this to someone, friends or family. So was there anything negative or self doubt at that point of time before you started?
Oh, of course, of course. Being a lady, being a single child, a lot of negativity, lot of pessimism, and but what I believe, Kanishk, is believe in yourself, and always, I have always learned one thing: if you want to do it, and you take the responsibility and the onus, whether you are going to be right or wrong. So I always, pursued my dreams, though there were a lot of setbacks, lot of pulling of the legs, and especially in from where I come, the culture now, things have changed, but I'm talking about 15 or 20 years old back. एक लड़की क्या कर लेगी, sort of. And I also, in the middle of the night, I used to get a phone call and say, अब तो लेडी हो ना, ब्रोंकोस्कोपी कर लोगे क्या, something like this. And we have faced these challenges, but over a period of time, if you are focused, right, and if you think that you can do it, if you believe in yourself, I'm 100% sure you can excel. And today, and I'm standing amongst one of those niche, I mean, all those people where people do recognize me as a doctor, which was my aim, and of course now as an entrepreneur also, that I can now run a private limited company successfully with a good business model.
And I see you in a lot of conferences, taxi lecture, imparting knowledge. I have one photograph with you that you were giving me some honor in some conferences. So that's the complete package you have, and given a lot of priorities to each and everything in a very important way. So coming to the next question is the failure and setbacks. Were there any failures when you started?
Lot of.
What is the most important setback or failure or learning in this to say that you want to tell to our audience?
So failure should in fact drive you to do more. Let me start with this. So when I started, the failure was getting patients, right?
Biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge. And talking with the colleagues who are, physicians who have, who were probably always thinking that, no, why will we refer a patient to a pulmonologist? We know everything. That was one of the failure. Taking you for granted, that was very most of the ladies, 15, 20 years back, we were taken for granted. नहीं इनको नहीं, हमको नहीं भेजना है, why will we send them? So that was one of the failure. You being recognized as a good doctor or a good businessman was also a huge challenge. At every point of that time, you have to prove yourself. So if you do 9 good things, that's okay. Yeah, you can do it because you're qualified. But one wrong stuff,
Yeah.
right? It takes the whole those 9 things which were done would probably, just whitewashed over it. I had challenges in running the hospital. I had a challenging running my private limited company. The first 2 years or 3 years, I never reached my EBITDA, right? It was in loss, right? The ROI which I wanted was I never got it from 2015 to 2018, 2019. But then came COVID, right? So then probably the perspective changed of the people, that what's the importance of a pulmonologist? And you always know that being a lady, you are always compassionate talking to the patients. And those things changed a lot. And then I started making profits. Right.
It took you 5-6 years of patience
Yeah.
to start making
Yes.
profits.
Yes. And doing continuously new, innovate things. Yeah.
So I'll come to my next question, which is very important, I think. building a team and reputation. So how do you select your team members that work with you? And do you think your personal branding and patient trust play a very significant role?
Absolutely. So I'll be very honest with you. You cannot do anything if you have a business model or if you're an entrepreneur without a good team, right? And having a good team is very pivotal. And the other thing is, forget you are a boss, right? So when I have a team, I have a team of a pulmonologist. I have a team of doctors with me. Give them the credit of what they are doing is very important. So if I give a credit even to a nursing staff, if she has done a good stuff, then that's a whole team. It should not be that it is Dr. Sonia Dalal doing this. It should be a unit or a team of Kalyan Hospital who's doing this.
So basically, you're talking about being a good leader is very
Exactly. So leader is not the one who takes the credit of doing everything.
the positive.
Exactly. The leader is the one. Yes.
चलो सब साथ
सब साथ में चलते हैं. सब साथ में चलते हैं.
Very good. So, coming to the next question. So, many doctors worry about the financial risk. You said that it took around 5-6 years to start making profits. So, now when any of us are listening up, when my audience is listening, they will come in self doubt. So, what about the financial risk and how to handle that?
So I'll be very honest. Start small. Start small. Right. I'll give you an example. If you think that you want to start a lung physiology, right? Start with spirometry and start with maybe a Pheno or an iOS. Invest small. Start creating awareness, right? And you show yourself as a strikingly different compared to the other, pulmonary function test machines that are doing. What else you can do? Create awareness. Go out and say that, यार हम लोग ना सही करते हैं. What is sahi in doing a pulmonary function test? That is very important. Do that, and then once you are sort of started making a little bit of profit or strikingly doing good, go on adding. So what you have, make a model of first 2 years what you're going to do, next what should be the ROI, next 2 years what should be in the pipeline, what should be the
You have a very realistic
Plan,
realistic
exactly,
goals.
exactly.
Do not start big so that the burden of investment.
Think big,
But
start small,
Perfect.
right?
So I think this is the message for all of us. Think big, start small,
Exactly.
and so that you can have a good India.
So make profits and then don't enjoy those profits, invest the profit again
Okay.
for another thing. So that makes sense.
So coming to the rapid fire round. So it's very small questions. Private hospital or own clinic? I'm working in a hospital or in a private like big hospital or starting up your own clinic. What do you think?
कनिष्क कभी किसी को जंगल में शेर को चलते हुए देखा है? देखा है ना? तो वो शेर जू में कैसा लगेगा और जंगल में कैसा लगेगा? Private practice is like that. You are free. When you want to feel like a king of, then you have to have a private.
Okay. So that's give you a very different
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So owning up a hospital, private hospital at once, or just going with a small clinic at once. What do you suggest? It depends.
So it all depends on what you have in your mind and your focus. As I said, you can start with your clinic. And once you start making profit, if you have that vision, go on adding and make your own hospital.
Next, one regret, if any.
I have no regrets, to be very honest. Whatever I have done in my life, I am so far satisfied. One regret, yes, of course, is, to be very honest, I joined a corporate hospital for 3 to 4 years because I was insecure that my private practice would probably not be that good because of the competition. And then I got entangled into, it was like a maze, going into corporate and going into that that mindset changed that I'll get work from here only. So whatever you do only one thing have a focus and do that. So that was one of the regrets, that you cannot put your feet into a job also and a private practice also.
Yeah.
That is one of the regrets that I have as far as my academical career is concerned.
So you mean to say you should have broken the corporate checks or
Both. But of course, if my patient is going to give me a heartfelt thank you, that's going to give me a revenue eventually.
so eventually
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
our needs heartfelt thank
Absolutely,
automatically
absolutely.
get
Satisfaction from the patient. And I'll tell you honestly, one satisfied patient is going to get you more patients, and that's going to get you business.
So if you work honestly, do your
Yes,
job,
yes.
this is the
So,
byproduct. Success is
exactly.
byproduct.
Success, revenue is always a byproduct. Always concentrate on your work. And if the patient is happy, you're going to get your work.
So coming to my last question. So do you believe that entrepreneurship is the future of medical practice in India? Yes. And why? And what is the last advice you'd like to give to the audience?
So, to my audience or to whomever, I think large, dream large, start small, have plans in life, but don't forget to live your own life, which is very important. So, learn to be happy and keep realistic goals. Yeah, that is very
So
important.
being content is very
Absolutely. Learn how to be happy. As you rightly said, that a satisfied patient, the glitter in their eyes is going to give you happiness. So the business is a byproduct. But if you're concentrating on that, that byproduct is also going to give you something. Right? So dream high, learn to be happy, be content, things will follow. In fact,
ask this the last question. Again, this is not there in my professional list. That you said that entrepreneurship is the future of medical in India. But do you think this big corporate hospitals wouldn't name everybody knows? They have increased in numbers, they have a lot all the facilities, they are becoming the tertiary care centers. So do you think still believe that the medical entrepreneurship is a future of Iran?
why can't we do it?
Of course we can.
We can. Why can't we do it? Right? Why should we be a puppet of the a corporate culture?
That's true.
Right? We can be our own corporates. Right? So there are a lot of options that you have. If you start with a good sort of a maybe you start at the age of 30, 35, and you make your own hospital, maybe a 20 bedded or 30 bedded with a good diagnostic centers that you have or rehab centers that you have over here at Metro.
Or maybe collaboration.
Or then what you make it a successful model.
Yeah.
Right? And then at the in next 20, 25 years, start negotiating with those corporate people. Invite them. Do a merger and acquisition with them.
Okay.
Right? So that's a good business model, no? So you are satisfied that you are doing on your own when you are young, right? And then once you have set up a good model, right? Let them come to you. Right? They would come to you and they would like to tie up with you. Right? At the age of 30 or 35, you should not be dictated by them that, this is my target to you when you are joining them. You do your own, you have your own capabilities of doing those things. The moment you cross 50, probably they will come to you and they'll buy your business. Do that.
Thank you so much, everyone. This was Dr. Sonia Dalal, and we had a wonderful conversation. And I like to thank you, Matt.
Pleasure is all mine. Anything for you and Dr. Deepak Talwa.
Thank you, everyone. I'll see you in the next episode.